How's it going, everybody? It's me, Shane, and I'm here to give you another Moon Knight episode review and recap. Today's episode is episode 5, Asylum. So that means we got one more episode until episode 6. Well, hey, wait, no. That means we actually are done with episode 6. Ha ha ha. So, yes. But before we go any further into the Asylum, please remember to give me a like, comment, and subscribe. All three of those things really help out the channel. We're definitely trying to get up to 200 subscribers, and do not forget to hit that notification bell that's right there so you'll be notified of more videos just like this. As always, make sure you share the video. So, I had difficulty trying to figure out where to start. Maybe I should just start where the cliffhanger was last week. We go like, man, I really wish I actually did play-by-plays for Marvel shows again, because it's so difficult. Because right from the cliffhanger, we have Steven and Marc screaming with the hippo goddess Taweret, goddess of women and children, and also one of the people that ferry you and see you through to the afterlife. So, after the scream, Marc is back inside the asylum talking to uh, um, I almost used a name from a different movie, with Dr. Harrow, right? And he's and Dr. Harrow is talking about, okay, now we got you back here, blah 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 blah, and he's talking, and it's so weird because Marc is going, okay, so, and what did I tell you again? You were telling me about this hippo person. Maybe you should talk more about them, more, see them through, because maybe they can help you out here. And Marc was just kind of going along with it because he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go along with it, and maybe I can get out of here. Because I thought maybe dude was in a loop, maybe he was in hell. Not exactly. So while he takes this thing, he tries to stab himself. The two orderlies, which the black one was the black female cop, they just did. The individual did not look the same from when we first saw them, like, at all. So I've totally lost my spot. So they put something in his neck, and then all of a sudden he's back with Steven and the Hippo God, Toret, and she's like, "Is he always this?" We get some good jokes here. Is he always this intense? And Steven's like, "Yeah, pretty much." And Marc's like, "Man, those are some good meds." And while Toret is going through, she takes out papyrus. She takes out, like, parchment paper. She's like, haven't had a person come through here in a while, so hold on. And she's like, welcome, welcome to the afterlife, blah 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 blah. Steven gives us the rundown of who Red is, what's the whole deal, where they're going. They're going to the, was it Arut? Um, and we know what this place is. And when Marcus like, so, they're both very much dead. And she's like, yeah, I'm sorry, you guys are dead. And Mark is just like, so we're in the afterlife. She's like, an afterlife. There are different streams of consciousness that intersect and overlap. It's just more than one. And we even get a name drop of the ancestral plane from Black Panther. Boom, boom, boom. So for anybody that wants to sit up here and go, where's the guy? Like, oh my goodness, with the whole Thor and Love and Thunder thing, we have people going, oh, where's going on with the gods there? Why aren't the gods of Egypt showing up? First of all, the movie isn't out. Shut up. Secondly, everything doesn't have to show up in everything. Name drops here and there are good, but there's reasons for stuff. Just enjoy the property. Jeez. And now for this is confirmation that whatever you believe in, that's where you're gonna go. I do that for intersectionality. And Mark is he's just out of the asylum. He's like, none of this is real. I'm gonna open up this door. There's gonna be other patients here. There's gonna be Crowley and this person and this person. He knows Crowley, so he opens the door. They're on the boat. Um, they're on a boat on a sea of sand, going to the Arut. This is where they're gonna be judged. She even sticks her hands inside of them and takes out their white hearts, and judge it on the feather. Marc explaining all of this. But here's the problem. Just like with Arthur Harrow, the scales cannot balance. There's something going on with them. And in my mind, I'm like, of course they're not going to balance. There's a third person. You need all the hearts to balance, right? So I don't, and I think the third person might have been someone Steven created. So let's go down here. What crazy important things happen here? The reason why this boat has the inside of an asylum. Each person, like the human mind, has difficulty processing where this place is. So everyone's looks different. It can be uh, this and this and this and that, and funny enough, that's the same thing with Marc's mind palace. That's what we're going to call it from now. I'm calling it the mind palace because that is the thing that's been used in other places. His mind palace is the asylum, and just like with Tourette explaining that people's inside of their memories with their afterlife and stuff looking like this, within his mind, even the Dr. Harrow explains, you're doing an organization thing, and your mind can look like your safe place can look like a castle, can look like a field, and he's like an asylum, and that's so. I feel so bad for Marc that his mind palace is an asylum. It's just really sad. This episode has to be the most adult and the most I'm not gonna say the most sad, but one of the most adult and kind of on the dark side of the MCU. And I say this because of the subject matter. We get into alcoholism, we get into abuse from parents, we get into child death. So their whole mission, they have to go through their memories, and even everything out. Mind you, there are things that Steven remembers, but because Marc is the main personality, these are mostly his memories. And we get to one memory in particular where he's like, "How am I supposed to remember standing on the street?" I love that comes back later. I love that it does. Um, where am I on my notes? Steven. So this kind of confirms that Steven is very much real when with the way they're exploring split personalities. Steven is very much real, and Steven was created because, and it's very interesting how we got to this point. We got to this point because in one of Marc's rooms there are a bunch of dead people, and Steven's like, "Is this all the people you've killed?" He's like, "Yeah, these were murderers, um, sexual assaultists, just the worst of the worst." And there were some women in there too. So he's like, "This is the worst of the worst, men and women, people of all different backgrounds." And Steven's like, "You remember all of them?" He's like, "You try taking a life, you're not gonna forget these people. You're not gonna forget any life that you've taken." And a kid shows up, and this is where I'm like, Steven's still hating on Marc, regardless of all this. And he's hating on him where he's like, "You think I would kill a kid?" He's like, "I wouldn't put it past you." Well, it turns out that kid is their brother, their little brother Billy. And Billy died because they were both pretending to be Dr. Stephen Grant and his helpful lad, right? And then it started to rain, and they were going through this rocky passage, and like wherever they lived by the park, the water rose and Billy drowned. Um, their mother, she blamed Marc, even at Billy's Siva, spelled Shiva, but Siva. And this small tangent for everybody that was complaining, Marc Spector is supposed to be Jewish, which I wouldn't have never remembered that if I didn't look up anything about his old comics. This shows that Marc Spector is Jewish, and Oscar Isaac being so racially ambiguous, even though technically he is Latino slash Hispanic, uh, him being so racially ambiguous, he can play many different roles. Remember, he played Apocalypse and was Egyptian. So, but in here, Marc Spector is Jewish, but during his brother Siva, which is a week long period of mourning after the funeral, for a whole week you're mourning. And it's very obvious because we see several rabbis, we see with the Orthodox headwear that they wear. I don't remember the names of them. I'm not going to give them a silly name because I don't want to be disrespectful. But she blamed Marc for his brother dying. And I like that Steven can see all this. And the whole time, Marcus keep telling him, Steven, no, don't, and because he got locked out of, he locked Marc from stopping him from watching when Billy died. But he's watching all this. And each floor he goes up, he watches, Marc and his dad celebrating Marc's birthday by himself. Then the next birthday, his mother is getting drunk and his father's just saying, "Oh, she's just sick." It's not that she's just sick. She's abusive as hell, and his father is pretty much complacent because he's not really protecting him, and that's something that Marc has taken with him, which I'll get to in a second because she tries to tell Marc, dude's like maybe 12. You were always jealous of him. I should have been able to see that. He ran away, and it was at this point that Steven was made. So I'm going to be crossing in some things here. Marc didn't want Steven to see this part, but we eventually see it because Steven basically said, "Look, you have to show me this so we can reconcile, or else Layla's gonna die. A whole bunch of people are gonna die." And I'll get into basically on the outside while they're trying to figure this out. Tourette is going, "Yeah, a lot of people are dying before their time," and Marc and Steve were going, "Yeah, it's Harold. He's bringing back Amut. He's doing all of this. People are dying. We got a free Kong, and the reason why they had free Kong shoes because Towerette can get them back, but they're gonna still have bullets in them. They can't regen." He's like, "We got to get a message to Layla so she can free Kong shoes so we can come back." And that's a whole issue within itself of freeing Kong shoe. So let's go back to this. Inside that room was the memory of their mother trying to break in, and Marc is having a breakdown. He's like, "That's not my mom. It's not my mom. That's not my mom." And we see the moment where Steven is born, where his eyes roll back and go white. The British accent comes out, and he's like, "Oh, mom's gonna go crazy." He's trying to put up the toys. His mother finally breaks in, takes the belt off the side, and Marc has to pull Steven out, but we can hear her beating him. And Steven's going, "But that can't be," he remembers the room, but he doesn't remember any of this. He's like, "You weren't meant to remember this. You weren't meant to see this." Because he was made, he basically says, "You were made to have a normal life, to think that your mom was nice, to think that she was still alive, and she's not still alive." And it's just so interesting. This episode's so interesting. The fact that the Mind Palace is real enough that Marc was having a breakdown, not wanting to see the thing slapping himself, and Dr. Harold's like, "Hey, calm down, buddy. Just it's all right. It's just I need to talk to Steven." And by him talking to Steven, we finally get, because Steven was not in belief that their mother's dead. He's able to suck him into that Mind Palace, and the doctor in that Mind Palace is speaking to him, saying, "Yeah, your mom's been dead a long time, man." And he didn't want to believe it, and he did this old trick where he's like, "We'll call her up right now." He's like, "No, she screens her calls," and when he gives him the phone, he's like, "Here's your mom." And with tears in his eyes, Steven's like, "Yeah, no, she's dead." And when he finally gets to see the memory that Marc lied and said he doesn't remember, that time when he was on the street, their father called him up and told him that she died, and he just couldn't be there for her Siva. Um, he's outside of the house that they grew up in, and his dad's trying to tell him to come in, and Marc can't do it. Marc even has, the headwear and all that stuff. He just couldn't do it. And the reason why he left the house because he couldn't take anyone. He tried to go to the military, but he ended up going AWOL, and that's how he ended up becoming a mercenary. But it's crazy because this is where, and Marc explains that at this moment, this is when they started bleeding into one another's lives. Is Marc having that severe breakdown of his mother being gone and nothing being reconciled, and he's like, why would you do this? And it It's hard to watch, but yeah, really great acting in this episode. Um, I like that this was focused mainly on Marc and Steven. I'm glad that there's only three characters in here, and technically, Mind Palace, Dr. Arthur Harrow, right? Because I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I really thought that it was Amut pretending to be Dr. Harrow, and the two little guards were like jackal guards, because this happened in the comics where Moon Knight, well, apparently Moon Knight was not really Moon Knight, and Amut and her jackal guards were trying to convince him. They were messing with him, and I guess he had beef with Khonshu in this issue. I haven't fully read this. I've gone a little bit over the cliff notes, but that's what I thought it was, and this is a really good adaptation of that. Like taking the spirit of something like that and then changing it. That's what I want for my source materials. Do more stuff like this. But yeah, we get the good reconciliation of Steven telling Marc, it wasn't your fault your brother died. Your mom was wrong. And they needed that. They needed that at least in this episode, because I don't want to go the whole through a whole series and then they only reconcile at the end. I don't want that. And hopefully they don't go back to hating one another whenever they show up again, like crappy Venom 2, because that's just dumb. I already mentioned him being Jewish, Steven being real, Seva, MCU, the Mind Palace. I like that concept of the Mind Palace. Now, and one of the coolest things is we get to see how Marc becomes Moon Knight. I like when they do origins like this. We start the series, I'm already Moon Knight. But when we get to episode 5, and it's okay, in this Mind Palace, or should I say in this memory walk, Steven's going, okay, so that's Layla's dad. And he said, yeah, after I went AWOL and I joined an old partner, friend, or whatever, I can't remember the exact name, that dude got greedy and said no witnesses. And he's like, I couldn't do that. And I tried to get everybody out of there, but it didn't work. And Steven's like, well, where are you? And you see Marc climbing inside of this, I don't want to call it a pyramid, but we're going to call it a pyramid. He's climbing in there, and there's the statue of Khonshu. And Marc was about to kill himself. That's what I thought he was going to do in that room. I thought he was going to try to kill himself, but no. He was going to kill himself in this temple. He's been through so much. He made a split personality. That still didn't work out. And he has the gun at his head, and then Khonshu goes, that is a waste. He's like, you could be a warrior, you could be strong, you can protect the people, what is he called? The passengers of the night, you can protect them. And even Khonshu, and he takes this line comes straight out of the comic. Your mind is fractured. That makes you perfect to be my warrior. And that's when Steve was like, dude, he's been using you. He's like, what choice do I have? He's like, I would have died or go back to doing what I do best, which is killing people. And that's what Khonshu's justice is. Now, you might not like the whole killing aspect, but they're going after murders, sexual assaulters, pedophiles. Like, the worst of the worst are who they kill. And even earlier, when Marc remembers all of them, he even says, man, I wish that one of them, I was wishing every time that one of them would just kill me. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating dip into this character, and I love it. And slowly, as he accepts being Khonshu's avatar, Khonshu calls him. He says, you are my Moon Knight. That's where the name comes from. It's great. We see the transformation and the wrappings and all that good stuff. This is how origins can be done. I know a lot of people don't like the Disney Plus shows because they're like, oh, who cares? And a lot of these series, like, what show? Unfortunately, Hawkeye is only going to be a limited series. There's rumors and tell that Moon Knight might be a limited series, but these are kind of stories you can't really tell on this big screen. You can't take a whole 3 hours with movies. Everything can't be Justice League Snyder cut. You can't have 4 hours to flesh out everything. These shows are great. And then once you've gotten to know these characters by their own side adventures, you put them in movies where it's more contained and you can just go forward. I like stuff like that. I like how this is working out. But yeah, I don't even know what else there is to talk about. Oh yeah, we can talk about the ending. Astral Plane name drop. Feel bad for him. Um, just where the Stephen Great name comes from is it's a safe name for a safe person, for a person that he needed to escape. Mm. Um, Major memories. Is there any other major memory I forgot? No, no, no. We went through pretty big major memories. Um, so as you know, at the end, or should I say, towards the end of this episode, I mentioned Harrow was killing people. People are coming before their time. So Taweret says, "What the heck?" Turns the boat around and says, we have to take Osiris's gate. Hope he forgives me, right?" And they're heading that way. The gate's not opening. She's like, "I've never seen it so closed before." Osiris might be gone. Who knows? We don't know what's going on the other side. And I really hope that this last episode, Nick, the final episode, I hope it's a good hour. I hope it's not 50 minutes. I hope it's not 45. I hope it's not 48. I hope it's not 49.5. We need a whole hour. I hope they gave us a whole hour. Whew. Um, so here's what happens. If the scales balance out, you go to the field of reeds. You live happily ever after. This is part of the reason why just dying sucks, because then if it doesn't balance out, well, the souls of the damned in the sea of sand come out, grab you, they pull you down there, and you are frozen forever. I can see why people like reincarnation. Reincarnation makes more sense for you to try to do it all over again. Um, Damn, that's harsh. Well, the scales still haven't balanced, and now we have these things coming out, and it's the people that he's already killed before. And Mark is like, "Steven, you hide. I'll take care of this." And he's getting his butt whooped. And before he can be tossed over, Steven goes, "Well, you can do this, Mark." He's like, "Wait a minute. If I'm you, that means I can do this." Picks up a little bat, swings and knocks the sand heads off of two of them. He makes a cricket reference, saying, that's 6 points because he prefers cricket. And he ends up beating one into the ground. So when Steven comes back, we're definitely going to get those sticks. He's going to get those twin sticks out, and he's going to be able to do some work. That's if he comes back, because unfortunately, well, Steven was saving Marc, and Marc was trying to get up. Another one came over the side, was going to pull Marc over. Steven sacrificed himself. And Marc's like, "Turn the boat around, Steven!" And Marc is just not. Yeah, Steven is reaching out to Marc, and his body starts to freeze. It's like ice sand. I heard one person say ice sand, but that's kind of what it looks like. He's turned into a sculpture statue. Just reaches out, and he's frozen. And I guess with Steven being, stuck in the hell, the scales balance, and boom, field of reeds. But that's not where they want it. That's not where Marc wants to be. Marc even mentioned earlier in the episode, he doesn't want to be in the field of reeds, and he doesn't want to be frozen in the sand. He wants to go back up there and finish the mission. He even suggests killing Taweret, which Steven's like, "Really, man?" He's like, "I'm just saying, Layla would say the same thing. It's two of us and one hippo. I'm sure we can do this." That's pretty funny. Reminds me of Soul, with the whole sea of sand and the regrets and everything. That I like that reference. We got a nice little Ned Flanders reference where Stephen Grant calls Dr. Harrow um, Ned Flanders, because Ethan Hawke had that mustache. I like that he is the doctor inside of the Mind Palace. I hope he remains in the Mind Palace, and the Mind Palace continues to be a thing. Needs to be a thing, always. Because who knows, maybe his doctor might change. Maybe once he meets Old Man Cap, maybe Old Man Cap will be his doctor. Hmm? I can see that being a way of doing that back when Mark Spector had Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Cap in his psyche. I can see that being a good way of doing that. But yeah, what's gonna happen? What can we do? I'm pretty sure what's gonna happen is Layla's gonna free Khonshu, probably accidentally free some other gods as well. and we're gonna have this big thing of getting back Marc, but Marc going, I'll go back, but you got to give me Steven. We're a package deal. That still leaves the hook. I know that we're not gonna solve this whole Jake Lockley third personality thing. I I, I really hope we get a second season of Moon Knight. Like, it doesn't even have to be 6 episodes to give me 5. I'm cool with that. But yeah, this is one of the best episodes yet, and there wasn't an ounce of fighting in it. So if you don't, if for some reason you always have to have action and you don't like character development, if you don't like really good acting, like supreme acting, this probably won't be for you, and that's okay. I give this episode a 5 out of 5 for sure. Uh, First episode was really good. I'm pretty sure I gave that a 5 too. This is right up there. Just the concepts they're doing. And I wrote in here, I feel bad for Thor because the MCU was so afraid of doing magic in the very beginning that they try to be like, well, magic is just science. And it's like, no, magic is not just science. It's really not. There are gods. There are several kinds of gods. There are different afterlives. There are different planes. There are different beings in this world that have omnipotent power, or well, they're not now omniscient, but they have strong powers and they're able to do a lot of things. And they're able to change the world and even the universe. But I think it worked out for the best because we get Chris Hemsworth having fun, being a funny Thor, and then when it's time to be serious, he's serious Thor. So I'm okay with this as long as we get to keep Thor. But this is about Moon Knight. Moon Knight episode 5 is a 5 out of 5. Let me know what you thought of the episode in the comment section down below. Please do not forget to give me a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, hit the notification bell as well, and don't forget to share the video. As always, thank you for taking some time out to spend some time with me. Be good, be blessed, wash your hands, wear a mask, be safe out there, be good to yourself, be good to others. Either way it goes, don't be a jerk, y'all, and I will definitely see you next time.